Yeah.
Cam and Kristen.
Sorry, I'm getting error messages. I think
Really?
yeah, because your go live because you don't have your premium Twitter account, so it's not working.
No,
Oh, you
I paid
do?
for it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so then there's an
But it
additional
says bug.
prompt. Oh, it's saying bugged. All right, remove your destination
Boo.
from the stream. Sorry,
Okay.
anybody that's watching us. What's up, What's up, Ace? How you doing?
Oh my
We
god.
have bugs on our side.
Ace. This is pretty awesome.
Yep. All right, we're
Welcome,
here.
welcome.
All right, we can focus now. We got 5 people in the chat. What's up, Jonathan? Thanks for dropping by. Ace, Jonathan. Okay, so
Yeah. You know what? Let's do a redo.
okay, let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Cam and Kristen in the evening. Terrible.
This
We'll
was
figure it out.
surprisingly hard to do, everybody.
Yeah, with lag in person is probably a lot easier. You're munching on salad, Alex. Hey, Rob, thanks for dropping by. You know, we do got to do something that we didn't do. Actually, no, fuck it. We're skipping the theme song this week, Kristen, because we were too slow. What
I'm
are we
gonna
gonna
play
do?
it right now in the background as people are streaming in.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a screenshot of your emojis.
I like precision. I like my performances to like work, and you know, this is a version of it that I'm we were talking about it before, but this is a growth exercise for me to not have practiced something.
Exactly. And I was
What's up,
like,
Lost Soul?
Cameron, it is improv. I think live streaming is improv.
Yeah. But
you gotta yes and all of my stupid little mistakes that I make on stream. Yeah.
Okay, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite ritual?
My favorite ritual is going on a walk. I think.
How is that a ritual for you?
Oh, I guess for me, like I have a specific route that I go on every single day.
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, like going on that walk is the ritual. I mean, I also have lots of really bad rituals, like eating M&Ms or whatever, but that's a later discussion.
Well, so what about that walk makes it a ritual compared to other things?
Consistency.
Interesting. Can you say more?
Oh, I think there's also like almost like the chaplain ritual thing, right? That's actually literally a one of the course topics we talk about, like it's constructing rituals, and it's a way for us to hold space for people to mark momentous occasions, for people to hold sacred an idea. So there's like that, the big R ritual that we do as well. And of course, like something like walking, like, as you know, very precious activity. I think in a previous stream we talked about how like it's a really good marker of whether it's a good day or not. And so like, to be able to have this kind of consistency where one would do it regardless of one's mood and one's like, schedule being packed or whatever, that elevates it and makes it a ritual.
Interesting. Thanks, Ace. So this week we're talking about rituals, as Kristen was getting into. We're going to talk a lot about different aspects of rituals. We're going to, honestly, I think we need to talk about like what the heck a ritual is. But Luca, Archiles, Nerd, Mysterious Me, thank you for joining for the first time. Christina, this is exciting. These are some new PFPs, Kristen. I haven't seen these before.
I think that's Doc's there. yeah. So Bar Lucid. So, and one thing is like I think people are still streaming in, but at least in the feed, folks are telling me that they are stayed up till 3 a.m. to tune into this show. And then I was
crazy.
Like, oh no, please do not do that. Like,
and I said, don't say that. I want people to watch our show.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter because everyone took it as a reverse psychology thing or something. Yeah, but like I think that's also an important aspect of like sleep rituals, where ideally I would hope people are getting their normal sleep in when it's dark outside. So please, like if this time zone, this time slot is a completely insane time, enjoy the recording later.
Or don't stay up. Kristen's not your dad or your mom.
Yeah.
Or parental figure.
And this like weird good cop, bad cop routine right now. How about watching our show?
Kristen,
Yeah.
what
So
makes what
mhm,
makes a sorry, I just want to like because I've been thinking about rituals a lot, obviously, in preparation for this. Like,
mhm.
what makes a ritual different from a habit?
Hmm. I think ritual has a little bit more devotional quality to it to me. Like
Hmm.
again, this is the chaplaincy infusion. Um, a habit seems a little bit more lightweight to me. Whereas ritual to me implies almost like a sequence of habits or a sequence of events sometimes.
Hmm. And
Um,
man, I have so many ritual questions, but I'll save them.
yeah, yeah. So, did you have any good rituals this week?
Yeah, so I think about like rituals for the most part. So there's like
Mhm.
two types that I generally do. So like the military loves rituals. The
Oh,
military
yeah.
like many cults, like the military
Mhm,
is phenomenal at leveraging rituals to, as you said, bring import to occasions,
mhm,
but also to bring import to everyday things.
mhm,
If you really think about it, like, well, I mean, if you don't know, most militaries in the world have a morning formation that
mhm,
makes sure everybody is up and out of their bed and in standing in a box, usually. um, Rituals intentional and done with focus, which means if you're like doing habits that you want to do, it's kind of a ritual in and of itself. But we can argue about that back and forth. But anyway, so like
mhm,
I have a lot of time reflecting about rituals because I have a lot of time standing in hot and cold formations and like reflecting on why the heck I'm doing this silly thing of saluting
mhm,
and standing and all that. And so, like, but rituals that exist in my life right now, there's like rituals that I consider triggers to doing something else as like a
mhm,
way of getting into the mindset to do that thing.
mhm,
And then there's like recovery rituals, I think is like the best way I would describe it. So it's like rituals to start things and rituals to end things
mhm,
is kind of how I incorporate them into my life. And so specifically, the my most consistent ritual is my warm up routine, or at least like my first warm up set when I exercise. And I have like a very simple barbell complex that I do, some like hang cleans, some squat, like that kind of thing with a barbell that like when I do that, my body knows it's time to lift. And for
mhm,
me, that's like a 30-second, 60-second like pre-reflection before doing the thing.
mhm. That makes sense. It's like
Yep.
the cueing, right?
Hmm.
So, one thing I want to bring up is that we are actually changing the ritual of OK Bangers streaming in that
Yeah.
we're simultaneously on many platforms.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
many of you all are joining us from YouTube, and we're also broadcasting live on Twitch, on
Yep.
Twitter, which is on Cameron's Twitter account for now,
For
and
now.
my LinkedIn account. So this
And
has been a
Times Square. Kristen
very
spent a lot of money and we're streaming in Times Square.
exactly in one of those giant LCD screen. That's something new for us. And then for today, as usual, we're gonna go through some
Hell yeah.
okayest bangers that we've identified. Yeah, and then later in the second half, we'll get more into rituals again.
Let's go.
So yes, Cameron, banter while I set up the screen.
All right, let me go through the chat. Jeff, thanks for dropping by and thanks for the shout out earlier today. Jonathan Colton, appreciate your Google abilities right there. Framedle time. I don't know who you are, but I like Framedle. It's like Wordle for anyone that's unfamiliar. And Cami, is that you, Caro? And then I can't pronounce this one, but it starts with an MG. And yeah, Framedle. We are on LinkedIn because we think that there is actually opportunity to like do well on LinkedIn because most of the stuff is just garbage and it's pretty fun and it doesn't hurt us to do it. Nerd, what is vamp? Is that what I'm doing? Am I vamping? Izzy, thanks for dropping by.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you're
if y'all have
for us.
anything that y'all ooh, Kristen, what's up?
Oh, I said that. Yeah, you're vamping for us.
Oh, dope. If anybody has anything about rituals, which is what we're talking about today, if you have anything that you want us to get into, please drop it in the chat. Any chat, we'll get them all.
Mhm.
Christina, you don't have to confess you've been on LinkedIn. We all have that secret shame.
Can you imagine someone's on LinkedIn listening to this right now?
God bless them. If you are on LinkedIn right now, you are my favorite user in this moment.
Yeah. And yeah, if you're on other platforms besides YouTube, just know that if you look up OK Banger on YouTube,
Yeah,
we are
buddy.
broadcasting live there, and we have at least 19 friends joining us.
And
So
we have so many shorts. If
mhm,
you're a short form video fan, we got a lot of little bits and skits and goofs for you.
mhm. Okay, so getting right into it. So this week, or on this show, I picked out
Yeah.
my favorite casts in the past 2 days.
Hmm.
So this one from Steve, my ambition greatly outpaces my focus. So
Yeah.
I casted something similar, and I'm pretty sure I copied Steve subconsciously. So that's why I was like, yes, this is to me a banger because it is like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 word saying. And I've noticed that if with on Farcaster at least, like casts that are very few words actually tend to outperform. What do you think?
Mm. Anecdotally, I think they can.
Mhm.
Uh, I think there's like a return, like a diminishing returns to long posts. Like there's a couple threads and a couple like essays, like length posts that like do well, and obviously screenshot essays can perform well. But like in general, if you can like be succinct with a good idea, like in this cast, like I do think it does well.
Yeah, so that's to me a banger.
The
I
context for it is also it's in the ADHD channel, which
Mhm.
is important because the context of the quip of the saying probably hits a little bit harder in a channel that I imagine I don't really hang out on it much, but the ADHD channel's probably talking about focus a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, we have several friends.
Yeah, yeah,
Agree.
yeah.
Yeah. All right,
It's a good
and
one.
then yeah. And then we have a good old quoted cast taken out of context by
Favorite.
Kim here.
One of my favorite formats is the goofy quote cast.
Yeah. So no, not much commentary, but of course, I think picking on Ted is always really fun. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, for the audio listeners, the quoted cast or the quoted
Oh
post
yes.
is
Mhm.
do I like him or is he just a golden retriever? Really on meta, like black cat golden retriever relationship pairs are definitely something that hits pretty often on the internet. And then the quote commenting on the cast is at Ted, the person who casted it, I have a girlfriend, basically implying that he is the golden retriever that she is pining after in this scenario. So I think that's pretty good.
Mhm. Always a banger from King. And then I when I picked this one, I wasn't sure whether Cameron would like it. To me, it's like a classic, like
Yeah.
silly meme. I also deeply related to it because my drawer was stuck
Yeah.
just now. So I was like, "Ah, yes, this is perfect," but also really niche.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a classic image meme, which is kind of a hallmark of like a millennial or boomer meme, if we're being
Yeah,
honest at this point on the internet.
it is
But
very boom.
but like I post plenty of image memes, so you know, take that with grains of salt. But it's the why won't this damn drawer open starter pack with a bunch of pictures of the things that block your drawer, like ladles. I was hoping a spatula might be in here, if I'm honest, but there's a cheese
Mhm,
grater and a masher.
mhm,
But yeah, like this is great because it's universal. It's less great because it would hit on Facebook, and for me, that, like, is a hallmark of something that has already like, it's a joke that's been made before, probably
mhm.
thousands of times.
Yes, yes. And it's also very universal in
Yeah.
some ways. I think I said it was niche before, but I'm like, no, actually, no, this is a universal kind of meme, which you
Yeah.
don't really like because you're like, there's not enough juicy context.
Yeah, for everybody else, the context of that comment is Kristen and I, like, message back and forth about, like, nerd comedy stuff because 'cause we're both, fans of esoteric comedians, and, like, I like jokes that require a lot of context. So like you need to know, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things in order to get the joke hit
Mhm,
really hard for me just because I like appreciate that the joke isn't for everybody. Like that's something just something that I like. So like this kind of stuff I also do appreciate. It's just not like my it's not how I joke a lot of the time, I think.
All right, all right. And then the last two are quotes. So this one's from Jana. It says, "Grateful to be alive, Mary Oliver. It is a serious thing to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world." And then there's a Dostoevsky quote: "I exist. I see the sun, and if I don't see the sun, I know it's there. And there's a whole life in that, in knowing the sun is there." And so really like this one because,
Yeah.
of course, there is the obvious, like, well-known quote, like Instagram slop. You and I have both seen, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
these quotes I think are obscure, or at least for me, they're obscure enough where I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't think I've heard this one before. So therefore, I was like, this is to me the okayest banger of Thursday.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I like it. I would I would pick one of these quotes. You know what I mean? Like they're
Oh.
like I don't know, like just from a
I thought it was about
pure.
the contrast between Mary Oliver and, or like the similarities between Oliver and Dostoevsky.
Yeah, and like I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but
Mhm,
like in when trying to make good stuff on the internet, of which, like take my in like opinion with a huge chunk of salt, but
mhm,
you don't have a lot of time to get somebody to read your stuff online. And
mhm,
so like a good rule of thumb is you get to communicate one idea. Like
mhm,
like we're neither of us are Dave Chappelle. Like we don't get to communicate a bunch of different things in a narrative. Like you get like one thing if you're
mhm.
trying to like reach new people online. And so like that's the only thing that I would think of there. But yeah, it's super nice in the gratitude channel. Um and to address a nerd comment, I definitely am not negging any meme stealing. I actually don't think you can steal memes on the internet, which maybe we can get into that, but it's very much a taste thing with some of the jokes, but never like dismissing like how they're made or anything like that. For me,
Is it because like memes by definition need to be propagated and therefore duplicated?
I think it's like after a threshold is met with any kind of content, it's not
Mhm,
yours anymore. Like legally, maybe it is, but like the internet owns things once they reach escape velocity. And I
mhm,
think it is like fighting a last century fight to try to retain control of something that is internet scale or like on its way to internet scale. And so like just philosophically, I think it's trying to hold sand and water in your fingertips to accuse people of stealing memes because like, oh, by the way, the origin of like the joke of the meme was probably already made 1,000
mhm,
times in the past like, decade anyway, because like there's a lot of funny people online.
mhm. Okay. Well, and then the reason why I chose, or even I saw this, I have to
Yeah.
admit, is because it was quoted by July.
Yep. July
And
July is a good, curator account on Farcaster.
and then July said, "Not much to add here, except I want to confirm that I exist, and I just saw the sun." So I thought, well, that's a really good reaction to what was quoted.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Mhm. Yeah, so but I think like that's what's interesting to me is that July, despite being a big account, how many followers now? 193,000. Like takes a lot of time to like curate different casts across Farcaster and even like with big and small accounts. And it's always really nice when I see him liking a bunch of my stuff too.
Yeah, I
So
mean, the dude is just using the platform the way he wants to, which I respect a lot.
mhm. Yeah. So that the July channels where July post stuff and then also we post stuff that is like July vibe,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, definitely check that out. We'll drop let me, I'll drop the link in the chat while you're moving stuff around.
Mhm. Okay, and then so lastly, one new feature for this, or one new ritual on the OK Banger show is we
Yeah,
really
buddy.
want to feature our viewers, especially those who have like been so kind to support us by minting our episodes. So we're planning to feature a viewer who has like kept up with the mints, so to speak. And today it is So Hey.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you minting, and I personally appreciate you being a Seymour TV user.
Mhm. So I was wondering, Cameron, because I was
Yes.
thinking, well, is this like one of those like Twitter like roast your landing page sort of thing where we go through and we point out ways in which we can help out?
I don't know what we would do. Do you mean about like the profile right here?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I'm
mhm,
okay with just shouting it out. I don't really like know what value I could add here other than
mhm.
maybe saying put your seymour.tv link as the first thing in your bio.
Uh, does that make sense? That I would not put it the first thing on my profile. I'll have like a like I
No.
feel like the Mitsu hate doesn't make sense. And it's at least
You
the first link.
Yeah, you could do it as like if it was the only thing in there, I think that makes
Mhm,
sense.
mhm,
But like as like you usually it makes sense, I think, for profiles to have a little bit of context in there. But like
mhm.
honestly, if you look at a lot of big accounts now on various platforms, it's like a signal to not have any signal in your bio because you're like above the need to communicate stuff. I get it.
Mhm.
But most people I think on the internet just want to understand what the heck that they're looking at.
Yeah,
That's a
that's that. I
luxury.
feel like the ones who put very little information just have a big enough like follower like a number for people to bypass that.
Yeah.
So and until we get there. And then like I asked Sohei like what is their main goal, and it seems to be to grow the Kawaii channel. So I
That's
definitely want
true.
to
Yeah.
mention this.
Yeah, go check that out if you're into anything kawaii cute or any offshoots. What do you have any personal experience with kawaii stuff, Kristen?
Well, I really enjoy the channel myself. And of course, like being an Asian woman, I am by default kawaii. So that's why I'm like, yeah, of course, everything is kawaii. That's cool. Like it didn't occur to me that could be foreign, to be honest. So I was
Interesting.
wondering, to what are your thoughts on how to help this channel grow?
I mean, follow it. Follows on Farcaster channels have been kind of deprioritized. Like they don't really happen that often, which is a shame. But if you're interested in stuff like this, or like you scroll through the feed and you're like, oh, I would like some cute pictures in my feed every once in a while, definitely follow the channel. And we'll also drop their profile in the chat. Let me grab that while you're scrolling through to showcase some
Oh my god,
stuff.
this is so cute. Look at it. It's this Crayon Shinchan as a
What is
table.
that?
So this Crayon Shinchan is a very classic Japanese manga and anime about this kindergarten boy called Shinchan who
Yeah, I've seen that, I think.
who has a bunch of kindergarten friends, and
Mm.
he likes to show off his penis. This has really taken to a turn for those who are just like tuning in. I have never heard of this anime before. Um,
No,
yeah,
Kristen made it up. She's the author. This is her favorite
if
thing
you
to
like
write and talk about.
the crypto coin blue, it's kind of that kind of humor. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Not
So
my cup
in
of tea.
retrospect, I'm not sure if it aged well, but again, it's a very different.
Yeah.
My gosh.
The
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for now.
amazing. And we're gonna get into the heart of the thing.
Hmm.
Back to rituals.
Oh, I do want to give a quick shout out first.
Not
So
into the heart of the thing yet. I'm a
not into the
liar.
heart of the thing. We're only in the esophagus. What I have to mention a kind okay banger partner. I don't know. We haven't called them. Oh, decided what to call them.
A
Friend.
friend of the show.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to like scare King that I'm mentioning right now.
An enemy of
So
the show.
an enemy of the show, exactly. So
Of the
yeah,
state,
so
probably.
we really want to thank King on Farcaster, who has kindly made a frame for featuring all of the OK Banger episodes.
Hell
So
yeah.
we'll drop that later on, like after the show. Perhaps you get a DC about it. But it's a way for viewers to be able to easily find the different episodes. Because we've been told that, as you know, on the Farcaster feed, it's kind of hard to find missing mints and things like that. So we want to make
Yeah.
it easy for you. And so King is now offering frame building service to those of you who are on Farcaster. So if you're not
Oh,
on
I didn't know
Farcaster,
that.
frame is like a little program that sits within something like a tweet. It's and so if and then also if you visit like frames.sh, you can see a different kind of explore slash store experience as well. So yes, and I've asked King, it's like, okay, what is the difference between like Naynar Frame Studio and what you're building? And like one of the main feature difference is that there are dynamic images are supported with what King is building. Whereas I think Naynar Frame Studio has like static cached images. So there's a lot more like, possibilities for you to play around with like, what you display in these King frames. So again, that's frames.sh, and then please direct cast to King if you're interested in making your frame idea from imagination into reality.
And he's a cool dude. I'm assuming he's a dude. I haven't like asked, but
unknown
gender, good builder.
Exactly.
Let's go.
All right. So
now to the heart of the thing.
I know, right? Back to rituals. So yeah, like right now, I remember the topic rituals came up because you were showing me this book called Daily Rituals. Actually, is that the title of the book?
It is indeed Daily Rituals. If you're on the YouTube channel, or if you're an audio listener, you can see a picture, but it's a Daily Rituals, How Artists Work by, who is this? It's like a curated collection. Mason Curry. The TLDR is that it's a bunch of little excerpts of like how artists of various, like artists, writers, creators of various stripes went about their day, and like a little bit of their daily routine. Sometimes it's like, when they go to bed, when they wake up. Sometimes it's like, hey, they just smoke a bunch of cigarettes and drink a bunch of alcohol and then paint. Like it's a range of creative processes that are like very bite-sized. But so you were saying?
Yeah, and then the reason why it came up is because I was making fun of you.
Yes.
Because you were like telling me, it was like early in the week, you were not feeling well. And then, of course, you are doing this amazing balancing thing that, in fact, many of you in the audience do, which is somehow you dev and somehow you're still on Farcaster casting all the time, which is a very attention fragmenting activity compared to development, which is a very focused, locked in activity. And you were telling me that you wish you have like a lock-in period to be able to get all the hard work done.
Yeah, and honestly, reading the book for me was a little bit of a cry for help to the universe of like, hey, what does right look like? What like what is the right way to do it? And like obviously we all know that there's not a right way to live life per se, but as someone who like really cares about my creative pursuits alongside kind of like the technical things that I'm doing alongside the professional things that I'm doing, I gotta figure something out. And like Kristen said, it's been a lot of work, like this whole month really. But through that and kind of studying some of the rituals that people went through in the book, I kind of came away with a sense of, oh damn, like people just have different ways of operating, and some of it is just inherently chaotic and, dare I say, like nightmarish to live their life that way, but they're still effective within that. And other people are really disciplined with it, and some people come across as one when then they're actually the other, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And I was kind of making fun of you because I was like, wow, like the attempt that we both put ourselves through of like, I just need a good ritual.
Yeah. I just need a routine, the perfect routine.
Exactly. The perfect routine. Like, get ready with me. You know how I think the internet period is like distorted idea too of like the perfect routine because of those like get ready with me videos. That's like the woman like just taking the entire day to get ready. I'm like, by the time I've done all that, I'm going to bed. Like there's no day left after the whole entire ritual.
Yeah, I feel like there's two versions of it, right? Like, and there's overlap between the two. And I imagine you've watched more women get ready with me videos than I have. Like I've watched
I'm
some.
sure you're on TikTok more than me.
I am on the internet a freaking lot. But so there's like the getting ready with me which like I generally perceive as like less about optimization of your day or like a perfect routine and more about like a collaborative experience of like, hey, I'm talking about something. I might be talking about the routine for parts of it, but then I'll talk about other things in it. Is that like an accurate representation of a lot of getting ready with me videos?
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's like
like
a
there's
selling an aesthetic, but like it has nothing to do with realism. And like I like what I speak notes said. You, it's a perfect ritual because you don't have to do anything. I'm like, yes.
well, okay, so that's really interesting, which leads into the other kind of get ready with me, which is really just a you like a guy usually with abs, usually
Oh.
goes into an bath of some kind and has like the has a
Yeah,
streamlined
the
routine.
Huberman kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's actually a really good Krazam video if you're familiar with Krazam or anyone in the chat is. But Krazam has a phenomenal parody of those optimizer routines,
Mhm,
kind of being a mask for a nightmarish existence.
mhm,
Um, I think I kind of try to live somewhere. I certainly don't talk to anybody in the fucking morning. I'll cast. I'll like
mhm,
post on the internet because like I that's a nice ritual for me is to find like a tone or an energy to like start the day with. A little micro burst of creativity in good days. On bad days, it's misery.
mhm.
Um, but I also have like, okay, I got to get up, feed the cats, get ready, lift, do that. I'm actually trying to add a different ritual into my life, which actually I'd love your take on this because we didn't talk about this before. I want to make myself stay outside for 10 minutes in the morning every morning, no matter what's happening.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good. I think I briefly mentioned to you that I'm doing, like, a variation of the 75 hard,
Oh
a
yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
softer variation, and one of the requirements is, like, you have to spend, like, one of your exercise periods outside no matter
Nice.
what, and I think it's the whole, like, can you withstand the weather when it's not in your favor, and, like, a lot of mental toughness that comes from that.
Yeah, we used to. This is a little goofy looking back on it now, but it's like it's goofy, but also it did work.
Mhm.
But we would do sometimes like body hardening like drills, and like what that would be is just like okay, it's 10 degrees outside because like I went to military
Mhm.
college in Virginia. You just like you do all this shit for the day, and the way that you end some sort of like practice period is you just like take your coat off and you're just cold for 10 minutes. Like
Mhm.
you like you don't get to, you don't get to do any of the things that you would typically do, put your hands in your
Mhm.
pockets or whatever. And it's just like, hey,
Mhm.
there are gonna be times where you're cold and there's nothing you can do about it. And so if you get
Mhm.
used to it now, it'll probably be beneficial in the future, like up here.
Yeah. And it's a stimulant for the immune system. So I think there's
Oh, I
also,
didn't
like,
know that.
biological reasons where, like, a brief cold period of cold exposure is good for you.
Hmm.
I think unfortunately it's been popularized by, like, the Liver King and people like that. So these are fitness influencers who are a
Yeah.
little bit dubious, definitely selling you supplements and on steroids. But I think like now, like I think there is something to it where I can see if I am like doing cold exposure and taking a 30-second in the cold shower, that kind of thing, it
Yep.
does help with like mental clarity. So
Interesting.
mhm.
I'm still I'm
So
still s go ahead.
oh, you go ahead first.
I was just gonna say, I'm still stuck on this like ritual versus habit thing. Actually, that's
Mm,
a lie. I'm stuck on rituals versus habits versus ceremony versus what was the other one that you mentioned? Um like I'm fascinated with like the boundaries of things
mhm,
and like the boundary between like a habit turning into a ritual like
mhm,
feels just like a little bit of spiritual gravitas, but like
mhm,
I want to define it better than we have if we
mhm,
can.
mhm. So so I think the way we came up upon this, right? It's always
Yep.
when do we say, "Oh, we just need a better ritual or routine?" Is when we have violated what it, like what we had like what had been imagined to be possible, right?
Hmm.
So for you, like, what is the one thing where when you don't do that thing, you're like, ugh, like the ritual is broken.
What is the one thing that I do when I don't do it, the ritual is broken? I think I think I've tried to like work really hard to not doom spiral when I miss a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like self-diagnose with anything, but like I do
Mhm.
get very bothered when the sequence of things that I wanted to happen doesn't happen necessarily the way that like it should have.
Mhm.
Um the so like I think for me it's kind of the closest thing to like a ritual that it's like a no fail ritual for me is like in my day-to-day life, I would like to take a shower before I go to bed because I've
Mhm.
spent so much time going to bed gross that it's like a thing in my life that I don't like doing anymore.
Uh-huh.
And like sometimes it's inconvenient. But like if I have the opportunity and there's not like, some sort of metaphorical gun to my head, like I'm gonna take that like shower and it's gonna be like a 15-20 minute like decompression shower because like
Mhm.
that's what I used to do starting in military college and then like post army. But like when you're like outside and doing a bunch of crap all the time and usually in hot, sweaty, gross places, like you just stay hot, sweaty, and gross all the time. And for me, that like cleansing ritual of like shower of clearing like body and mind is very important to me.
So, I want to give a quick shout out that there's
Yeah.
actually 31 viewers in the Frozen Fire 42 Twitter
Yo,
account.
what? Let's
Yeah,
go.
so
Thanks everybody out on Twitter.
yeah, on Twitter, if you're not a bot,
I
please
thank the
prove that
bots.
you are not a bot.
Don't listen to Kristen. Bots, thank you very
Bot,
much.
thank you, Elon Musk bots, for watching this show.
Trump
Um,
bots, get your NFTs.
so I don't know, like, Cameron, this has not come up, but I'm a
Yes.
sucker for like looking at military army forums and spying
Mm,
on new people, especially the
you're on
ones
a
where
list.
uh,
You're
because I
definitely
want.
on a list.
I know.
Sorry
Uh,
for interrupting.
like I'm especially like fascinated by like the boot camp sort of situation where people are like sent
Yes.
off and they're like going, oh my gosh, like
Yes.
what I need to do prepare. And then one of the items that comes up is the military shower where you are you often are given like no time and you have to somehow
Yes.
soap yourself and all of that. Can you tell us more about that ritual?
So it's changed.
Mhm.
Obviously, I was not in the military in the 70s,
Oh.
but I, I have connections to a bunch of different decades of military folks. But like
Mhm.
usually, what like used to happen was something that was like kind of colloquially called the cattle shower, where you'd have like posts of some kind with like a bunch of different spigots and like again there's a primarily male like military up until like very recently in most parts of the world. You just shove a bunch of like naked dudes in a room and someone's
Mhm.
yelling at you and you get some water on you, hopefully you get some soap in that water, and then like you basically end the shower as sweaty as you started it because like
Mhm.
you don't really shower. And like I've done my version of that. VMI, the Virginia Military Institute, my college, had upgraded kind of like their facilities in kind of like basically since the 90s. They did kind of a big upgrade. They had to change a lot of things because the school didn't integrate gender wise until the late 90s. It was like the last military college in the US to gender integrate.
Mhm.
Um, but so like I wouldn't call actually maybe I would call the nighttime shower a ritual
Mhm.
in a couple different ways. And so like so there's the training version of it where like it's a boot camp or like a hell week or whatever, where it's like this rush process of
Mhm.
okay, like you basically have to do an assembly line of getting hundreds of people, hundreds of trainees through a shower. And so like that's why it is like that. And also it's really fun to make people stressed in an environment where they've never been stressed before. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like I ran training
Mhm.
at VMI my senior year for the freshman class, and like there's a lot of different ways to like incur stress in people, but like
Mhm.
one of the easiest is to make a familiar situation unfamiliar, especially in an unexpected way. And so like
This
making
is
the
ironic given how we started the show, by the way.
we're this show, we follow the spirit of the show. Uh
Uh-huh.
but so anyway, so like there's a ritual in that like for the cadre who are training, it's kind of like a fun end of the day marker because that's the last thing you do before bed, usually because of some kind of like laws about hygiene and like learned practices of like, oh, if you put candidates or trainees to bed while they're sweaty and gross, you're going to
Mhm.
have a really gross barracks, and that turns into like actual disease medical issues like really quickly. So like you do actually have to do that
Mm.
for like if you've never been in a room with 100 like sweaty dudes for a long period of time, it's like a medical situation very very quickly. You know, disaster, refugee scenario, etc. But the other version of a shower ritual, which like you didn't start with, but now that I'm thinking about it, is I think very real, is when
Mm.
you're in a barracks type environment. At least military barracks in the U.S. Have some sort of communal bathrooms, or at least like lower enlisted do. But the end of the day shower is kind of like it's kind of like an approved, not approved, but like a societal allowed tea session, maybe is a good analogy for it. Like men generally aren't like socialized to talk honestly that often. You know, usually men organizing about things. Just
Mhm.
Bill, definitely take a shower if you want to, but the just play us on speaker. Um,
Loud
if
enough over the water.
Yeah, but like if you look at like how like at least American men typically interact and socialize, it's while they're all doing something else.
Mhm.
So like watching a game, like playing some sort of sport, like doing an activity is like the context in which you're allowed to commune with each other about like non-activity related things.
So
Like
you're talking
there's
when you're showering?
100%. It's
Oh.
you're talking, you're joking, like
Oh.
it's very locker room energy of like, "Hey, this," like, you're on the same team for lack of a better word, or you are
Mhm.
literally on the same team because
Mhm.
everyone is, like, trying to go into the military, and, like, the shower is a place where it's a you're doing the thing of, like, bathing, but
Mhm.
you're also doing the communion thing too. I didn't
Mm.
mean to go on a 10-minute rant about, like, naked dudes in the
I
shower
was actually
talking to
gonna
each
ask
other.
you about I thought it was
Yep.
the actual literal part of the shower, which I read about. It's like, oh, you gotta like pre-shampoo almost because you only have 5 minutes of water, and then
5
you
minutes is generous. Like, I have
what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've taken, like, 30-second showers, 15-second showers. I've basically ran by like, during the training phases of stuff,
Mhm.
I've, like, ran by showers and got splashed a little bit, and that was my shower for the night.
Well, no wonder people are sweaty and it's a medical issue. Yeesh.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay. But then it's I guess the training is that you've learned to be able to take showers of any duration.
Yeah, yeah, and so, like, for me, it's like a cheap luxury to be able to take a normal length or, like, an extended length shower, and so
Yeah.
I don't think I made that connection until this show, but, like, I really do appreciate that aspect of my day.
Mhm. Oh, just feels that makes sense. You're naked and vulnerable. It will encourage honest connections. That is actually that's really wise. I think that's
That's true.
totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you, so I guess the next step is to just kind of abolish clothing. That's
Mhm.
probably the lesson to take away from this, right?
Mhm. Oh, and Tutorizer, which I think is gembing.eth. It says like so no time for shower thoughts.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
this whole show is a shower thought. We haven't realized by now.
an extended shower thought.
Very extended. Oh,
Well,
so
throwing it back at, can I throw it back at you?
mhm.
What what rituals as part of your chaplaincy, like, do you think map outside of like the chaplaincy practice?
I think it's actually running Zoom sessions. Like I
How's
know
that
it sounds
ritual?
so like because I've done a lot of coaching
Yeah.
for like different things. It's not necessarily like meditation coaching, but like for
Hmm.
like writing, for marketing, etc. There's
Christian's
a
a great coach. DM her.
Oh, thank you. There's a whole ritual when especially when it's a large, like, 100 people setting of like, "Okay, I'm gonna play the intro music, and I'm going to
Hmm.
set the mood and the tone. I'm going to have a ritual about asking questions in the chat in the beginning so people have something to do." I make
Mm.
sure that, there is a ritual of like, "I do, you do, I do, we do, you do," which is how we set up these, like, pedagogy sort of situations where I demonstrate something and then, we do it together and then it's your turn to do it. Um And of course, like, breakout sessions and closing by like
Yep.
having everyone share their thoughts. It's actually a very like generic ritual that is often used in like support groups, etc. So I think like these are the sort of like set rituals that can apply, especially when it comes to like a group like vulnerable sharing setting.
Okay. Interesting. What like if you had to distill it down to one that people could just like embrace, like obviously like my one lesson is shower naked with people, but your
Mhm.
what is the thing that someone can take home of like, okay, there's a bunch of things in there, but like what's the thing that a person can do?
When it comes to building a ritual,
Yeah.
I would say it comes back down to intention. And I know this is actually the whole ritual versus habit thing, right?
Yeah.
The differentiation is the intention. And
Hmm.
like whenever we have the metacognition to be like, wait, pause for a second. I think number one actually before that is pause,
Pause.
which is the hardest thing for all of us to do. Pause whatever we're thinking about or doing or whatever, and then re-examine like what is your or my deepest intention behind what we're doing,
Hmm.
because it's so easy to lose orientation upon that and then go about whatever you're gonna do. It's like a frame of reference reset.
Got it. That's interesting.
Mhm.
The pause piece, and I'm assuming you mean like take a beat, not like cat pause.
Yes,
The
yes. No, no pause.
like, I mean, it honestly kind of feels like we're just dancing around the idea of like, hey, you're using a physical thing to basically meditate, like as a channel for your meditation. Is that like a fair assessment?
Yeah, but that could be true. I didn't want to bring up the word meditate because I don't think that's everyone's practice.
Mm. But everyone can pause, everybody can reflect.
Yeah, and it,
That's
it can fit
interesting.
whatever practice and religious beliefs you want.
Got it. For
Mhm.
anyone wondering, I don't really have a practice, so this is just like me poking Kristen about stuff. That's
Mm.
interesting.
I think you do have a practice, and that's the other topic, which is like the idea of anti-rituals.
What is that?
Or um, so to me, they are like what we don't actually want as a ritual, but we've accidentally incorporated as a ritual. So, like as pointed out, free worrying. Who has that ritual?
Huh.
Um, I just need a better ritual as its own ritual. Um,
Optimizing.
exactly, optimizing, productivity porn. Like there's a lot of like things that are like pseudo rituals,
Yep.
but if you really take it apart, it doesn't really like serve the original intention.
Is it like a like to me that kind of sounds like a compulsion of some type because like a compulsion has an element of like you're not intending to do it, it just happens.
Exactly. Or like, you feel like you have to do it, but
Mm.
you can't stop yourself.
Well, that's interesting because one of my favorite kind of sayings about things that you don't want to do
Mhm.
is really like traditions or just peer pressure from dead people. How does that fit into your definition of ritual, anti-ritual, compulsion, whatever?
Exactly. Like, hereditary rituals.
Mm.
Hmm.
Vestigial issues.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Who does rituals well?
I'm again gonna cite like, Buddhist monastics and people that are super enlightened to me. I think those people do ritually well.
I don't know. I don't know what makes a good ritual. Like I get the intention thing. I
Mhm.
get the reflection piece, but I'm torn when I look because like I like to study religion. I think we talked about this before. I was like raised Catholic in the South in the U.S., and
Mhm.
so like I've had kind of a front row seat to a lot of we'll say like spectacle, ritual, ceremony kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Not my current religious bag, and the thing that I think religions like we'll say successful religions, which is like a super loaded term, but like widespread religions, militaries, states do really, really well is like embedding memetics into rituals.
Hmm.
And like like the thing that I've always found really like interesting and I don't know, magical about rituals is that like not only is it like good for you, or some of them are like good for you and what you're like actively trying to do, they're also really good at leveraging like how humans react to things.
Mhm.
Like, you know, like songs, like a bunch of people singing a song together can be kind of like a ritual type thing, often is. And like I see like really effective rituals as like a way of getting a bunch of people on the same page about something really, really quickly. And
Mhm.
like even when their like brain is in other places. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree. I think especially in the group situation, like a ritual helps everyone align or like, have the same intentions. And there's a lot of power in that kind of practice. Yeah, I was like, I wasn't sure whether I should pull up what Barbara Lucid had said. Catholic
We're
Tuesday.
you
There's
know,
also
we'll
MLM education events. Exactly. It's the same mechanism that is used for both like good and not so good purposes. And I think that's something
yeah.
that people need to watch out for, actually. Like, be really aware when other people are manipulating you using certain rituals.
Speaking of cult inculcation,
Mhm.
that's another thing that I think the military does really, really well.
Oh, I
You
thought
know,
you were
like
gonna say Farcaster.
oh, I mean, Farcaster, I don't think Farcaster does a great job. I think the community of Farcaster does a great job. I think like the team at Farcaster is okay. Um,
Mm,
I think they could be better if they wanted to, but they would immediately get called out for doing the thing.
mm.
Right? Like they're smart enough to be cognizant of explicit cult tactics.
No.
Um, but
There's
like,
literally a rituals function though
yeah,
for
yeah, that's true.
journals.
And they haven't talked about it since they launched it, which
Yeah.
is funny.
Mm.
Um, but what was I going to say? Oh, but so like when you're thinking about rituals, do you think about them more as an individual or as a tool?
Mhm. Individual or tool? What do you mean?
So like I have my own personal rituals. We talked about the lifting one, we got
Oh,
the shower one, but we
mhm.
also like use them as a way to bring
Yeah,
people together, you know,
right.
best case. And so like which do you like think about more?
When I was like, writing the notes for this one, I was thinking more about the individual. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of glad this conversation morphed into one about the group
Yeah.
because I think that's actually one way in which you can actually intensify your own rituals, right? That's why like accountability things kind of work. And that's why like, if you work out I know a lot of people don't do this, but for me working at a gym as a group works better than by myself.
I'm the opposite, but I hear you.
You're like, I'm a lone wolf. No lifting with anybody.
No, I'm just like so I've been conditioned.
Mhm.
So military is very big. There's a lot of different parts of it, but like certain parts of it, we'll call it the competitive parts of it, or like
Mhm.
hyper competitive parts of it. Typically, combat arms branches like infantry, get into special forces, that kind of stuff. SEALs. Encouragement in a lot of the cases is like not part of it. Like when you're on the same team explicitly, like encouraging kind of becomes a thing that's like more common, but like obviously tough love and its various levels of toxicity like definitely exist. But the act of encouraging someone, especially during physical training, during like a run of the mill event, often only happens when somebody is like starting to suck at the thing. And
Mhm.
so like the thing that is like stuck in my brain is like PT tests. As like an infantry lieutenant, like you need to fucking max the physical training tests. Like you don't get to just pass, especially as an
Oh.
officer. You got to max.
Hmm.
Because it's not like it's hard, but it's not that hard. And so like but people start cheering people on when they're like on the cusp. And so
Mhm.
like the encouragement aspect of it comes into play as like an implicit, hey, you kind of fucking suck at this. And so for me, I have a bit of a like, I think a toxic mental association with encouragement because when people start getting encouraged, it's probably an indicator that they're not doing that well. And I don't want that
That
indicator
is
that I'm not
so
doing well.
opposite from like the world.
I know.
What the heck? That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Is that and
No,
I'm like, is that why you react the way like you react when I encourage you? Oh my
usually,
gosh,
yeah.
making you feel
Yeah, no.
terrible the whole time.
I mean, I don't feel terrible, but it's very much a like I don't need that encouragement because when it's like actually really hard, I don't have it. You know what I mean? Because like I'm not saying that you should live your life like this, but a lot of the times you do have to like figure your shit out by yourself. And so
Mhm,
like relying on external encouragement
mhm,
is very useful and helpful in a lot of circumstances, but like in some like
mhm,
really important ones, it doesn't exist. And obviously that changes like depending on who you are, your community and your support structure
mhm.
and stuff. But like for me, a lot of the hardest things that I've had to do in my life, I've had to just figure it the fuck out by myself. And like knowing I don't need the encouragement has been helpful during that, even though it like makes normal
Mm.
interactions sometimes not so like feel that normal, which might be part of what you're feeling.
I was gonna say, I hope you recognize that civilians like us don't work that way.
Yeah, no, I'm very we talked about this before too. I hold myself to a different standard that from which I hold the world, which
Uh,
has pros and cons.
yeah, and then, like, I also wanna clarify that Cameron is probably one of the most encouraging people I know. So yeah, so it's a one-way street, I suppose, but, I hope to be able to support you in the way you wish to be supported.
Thank you.
Um
I appreciate that. I'm probably filling a void with that now that you say it like that. That's interesting.
oh, okay. Yeah, and then I think practically, I also wanted to mention, like, checklists and protocols, right? That's something
Yeah.
we talk a lot about. So even for the show, there's a check pre-show and post-show checklists, and it revolves every single episode because we discover, oh shoot, we have to do this one other thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there is this book by Atul Gawande. I think some folks are mentioning like doctors having to do a lot of rituals and pilots too, right? Because for
Yep.
safety reasons, you really need to make sure you hit every single thing. So, like, having worked in the lab, like, for us, like, we have like tons of protocols, which are essentially checklists of how to do an experiment from end to end. Because if you cannot replicate it per what you wrote down, then no one else can ever do that. And that's a
It's
huge
not
issue.
science.
Exactly. So, but I think what's really, I noticed that you do a lot of checklists in your day to day, right? And you have this like secret little
Yeah.
notebook you write in that I don't see.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of like grug brain, like, gorilla brained about it in that like if it's not on a list, it's not real. If it like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
know there's, like, an amorphous infinite amount of things to do, but, like, if I don't have it in some sort of, like, check offable format, it's just not gonna freaking happen. Part of it is, like, I have goldfish memory in like, for good or for ill of, like, "Okay, I'll figure it out," and then as soon as I say, "I'll figure it out," and I don't write it down, it's gone.
Bye-bye.
Um, which is helpful, actually, because the important stuff, tends to pop up multiple times, but, like, the way that I think about checklists is like a little bit to what Nerd was referencing earlier in the chat. Like it's a way to reduce the friction for the things that need to happen and they need to happen right, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word. That's what you're talking about with doctors. And so if you think about like what a good checklist does is it stops you from having to make 10 plus decisions in a row. And if
Mhm.
you have to make 100 decisions in like a high stress environment, like reducing that by 10% is a really big freaking deal.
Mhm.
Um, there's also a really interesting thing with checklists and pilots. I'm sure you've seen this, but like checklists and pilots like reduce accidents, not just like in general, but they reduce them more in places where there are societal power imbalances.
Yeah. Mhm.
Do you like have you
I
gone
wanna
down
say
that rabbit hole?
is that a Malcolm Gladwell book that I've actually
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah,
like,
like
there's some bunk science in those, but, like,
mhm.
the it's directionally interesting.
Right, right, because it stops it from being like a I'm questioning you kind of weird dynamic, and more about
Yeah.
this is just what we do,
Yeah.
and we share responsibilities.
Yeah. The other thing that I really, really like about checklists is that they they help everybody at every level do them
Mhm,
really, really well. Yeah, Carlos,
mhm,
definitely they like for doctors because like when you're the kind of person who has like forgotten more about a topic than like anybody else is ever going to learn their entire career, like
mhm,
those are the people that like sometimes forget that they need to turn the bolt to exactly 32 psi or else it's like not going to be functioning optimally because they're so good at it. They don't really like actively think about it anymore. So
mhm.
I always find that really interesting when that happens in real life.
Yeah, and definitely, like, I have to lean on them when I'm not at 100%. Which,
Yeah,
I think 100% is actually really, put an
it's a
exaggeration.
myth.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
I'm at 50 and sometimes I'm at 20.
I mean, there's an interesting question in there of like if you spend most of your time at we'll call it 75%, why wouldn't you just re-baseline there and then have a bunch of days where you're operating above baseline versus always grading yourself at below optimal?
Because I have the narcissism of thinking that if only I have a perfect ritual, then I'll be at 100%. Oh man. So yeah, let's end on this. Christina said like is wishing on throwing a penny in a fountain a ritual.
I think for me it comes down to cadence.
Hmm.
If you do it once, probably not. But if you do it, let's say most of the time that you see a fountain, like I think it definitely can, you know? It probably makes sense to structure it a little bit. Surprise, I'm saying structure something more. But
Hmm.
the but like taking it as an opportunity to be like, "Oh, what do I really actually like wish what is my Kristen intention for the thing that I'm trying to make happen today?" Like I think that that will bring some of that spiritual gravitas to that potential ritual.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I think it like it would be really interesting to reflect on how you feel or how anyone feels when they're making that wish because it tells us a lot, right? It's like I mean, I'm assuming that you're not wishing the water in the fountain is the grantor of the wish. It's like some other sort of source. And it's like, is this the time that one is communing with the source, the grantor of the wish?
I
So it's
like
almost like prayer like.
I like distributed deities actually more than a grand deity. Part of
Yeah.
it is part of it is the lore junkie in me, because like, it would just be so much more interesting if we did have, like, all of the various classes of angels and their attributes and, you know, maybe
Mhm,
they're, like, AC level and things like that. But yeah, the spirit's the same, like, whatever you're wishing on, I get that feeling piece.
mhm.
Can
Yeah,
I
and then especially in Catholicism, right? There's a lot more of a intercession and like getting Virgin Mary to pray on our behalf, that sort of motif.
Yeah, I like, you know, like that, the saints. There's a lot of different things that I think people appreciate in various various contexts.
Mhm.
Can I ask you one more thing? I know we're over time a little bit.
I was about to play the outro music over you. What's
Oh,
up?
just do it. Do it. I'll ask you during the outro.
Okay.
The
Uh,
when someone is like when people are trying to like incorporate a ritual in their life, what part of it is just like the thing that's going to help the most?
Making it simple. This is gonna be Atomic Habit stuff. Making it simple and tying it to an existing ritual.
Chaining those habits.
Yeah.
Chaining the
That's
rituals,
the
I
annoying
think
thing
does
is
make a
that,
lot of
like,
sense.
of course, James Clear is cheesy as heck,
Yeah.
like studying the book, but like, there's just a lot of like Lindy stuff that he's squeezed in there.
The secrets of the universe are pretty simple, like we were saying
Yeah.
before. Thanks for
Hmm.
stopping by, everybody. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next show is on Tuesday. And we'll have a new topic then. Until then, tell us about your ritual. I see the menu you posted on here. We'd love
Cast
to see.
about it. Tag us.
Exactly.
Bye, y'all.
Alrighty.